Perfect. So again, my name is Helen Watt, and you are part of our Magic Moments team call, and I am excited to introduce our special guest trainer, Alex Theis. Now, Alex has joined Longevity a little bit over a year ago. He has a ton of experience building up other companies, but what I really appreciated from him from the first moment, and I met Alex, I don't know if you remember this, Alex, but we met at actually like a little chairman breakfast at the convention, and what really set Alex apart for me from everybody else was that he just let me talk. He had no agenda and say whatever was in my heart and in my mind, and he's a great listener, and then his goal is to help direct you to the right resource to help you solve the problem and to certainly leave the situation, you know, better than it was when you talked with him. So I'm really blessed that he's able to jump into our call tonight and give us some great training. Okay, how about now?
Oh, there. Okay, so can you,
Yay!
the sound completely dropped out when you were talking. So, um, can you hear me?
Oh, well, I can hear you great. And
Okay.
can everybody else, if someone could just let me know you guys can hear Alex okay? Perfect. Good. Well, Alex, thank you so much. And I'm going to, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks, Helen. Thank you for having me on this call and trusting me with your team. And it was great to meet you in Ontario and just continually get feedback from you. And how I've always worked, I learned this a long time ago in this industry, was all the answers and solutions are with the people who are building businesses. And the smarter I think I am, the worse I'm going to do at my role. If I just stay humble and ask the right questions and discern the right feedback and funnel it and become an advocate for everybody building a business, they'll give me the answers of exactly what they need. And it's my job to drill down and say, you know, what are the 2 or 3 things you need right now, and let's deliver on those. And when we deliver on those, you know, if we hit the mark, great. If not, we'll fix them. And then what are the next 2 or 3 things we can deliver on to make your business easier, fun, help you retain more people, help your check grow, help you impact more people. So, Helen, it's people like you and your whole team that you know, make my job fun, that help me sleep well at night to know that I have the ability to impact so many people. So thank you. And to do some invite training tonight. So how do we invite to events, really, is what we're looking at, because we're all looking at events throughout the year, whether it's a big event like Anaheim or a local event or even tonight's webinar. You know, how do you get people excited about showing up to an event? How do you reach out and invite people to events? So how I train people, just so you all know, is I never train on anything that I haven't experienced myself. I never train on anything that I haven't put into action myself, and most of my training comes from making mistakes and learning and applying and getting better and better. And I'm just like you. I still get nervous before I speak to a crowd of 5 people or 50 people or 500 people or 5,000 people. I still get nervous before a webinar like this. I still get nervous before a conference call. I still get nervous when I have to do follow-up calls. I have anxiety around inviting people. I have anxiety around prospecting. I'm just like you. We all have these things in various levels, and depending on your experience and where you're at in your excitement level, we all get these things. So I developed systems and processes for myself, and once they work, I share them with other people. And then the great thing is when I share what I do, what works for me with other people, they take it and they make it their own, and then I learn from them. And I learned this when I've built groups in network marketing, when I've built sales teams, is I teach them, and then they take it and they make it their own, and then they inject their personality, and then I learn from them because they always add their own twist to it. So these things evolve over time. So I would encourage all of you to take what I teach you tonight, and a lot of it's stuff you've maybe learned before, maybe it's a refresher, but I look at things a different way. I try to keep things simple, but I invite you to take it and make it your own, and whatever pieces work for you, share them with your team, share them with other people. But again, I keep things really simple, and I play hockey and I'm a goalie, so I'm a little crazy. And so I look at the world a little bit differently, and I try to break things down, and I try to understand the psychology of why people are going through what they're going through. Whether I'm prospecting or selling or inviting, I try to understand the psychology, because if you understand what people are thinking, it's much easier to empathize with people, and empathy is the greatest force in marketing. When people realize you know what they're going through and you care, they're much more likely to want to partner up with you, whether that's buying product or coming to a home meeting or home party or coming to an event. So as you see on the screen, some simple pieces here, and I'll break each of them down. Our human mind is looking through all of these 10 or 9 pieces here, and you're probably looking ahead, but I would invite you just to look at the top one, and let's start there with leave nothing to chance. When you do an event, I'll go back about 7 years, and we did this prospecting event, this opportunity event, and the gal putting it together and her team were so excited, and they expected to have about 40 guests at this event, and they had two guests, and they were so deflated. And my experience with that, or my thought is, it's probably the 2 right people that showed up. Let's focus on them. But they were so devastated, and so after the event, people were upset. They were in tears that 38 people that were supposed to be guests didn't show up. And I asked, well, how did you invite? To walk me through the process. And most of them said, well, we sent so many emails, and people responded to our emails and said they were coming. And I said, great. When they said they were coming, did you call them? No. Did you follow up your emails with phone calls? No. How many people that you invited live within a 5-mile radius of your house? Oh, a few. Did you visit them face-to-face? No. Okay. Never leave it to chance. I know it seems like a really simple thing, but I don't ever leave anything to text or email. Do I send emails to invite? Yes. Do I send texts? Yes. A lot of people prefer texts over emails and phone calls, but I always follow up or make the call, because nothing replaces human voices talking to each other. And if I can see them face-to-face and look in their eyes, all the better chance for me to make an impact with them. So leave nothing to chance. I like to say leave no stone unturned. Make sure you are talking to people. You are calling people when you invite, because another way anxiety plays with our mind and works against us is we send an email and we think, okay, I didn't have to call him. We do this when we prospect, when we follow up. I didn't have to call him. I sent the email. I did my job. Well, you didn't. Make the phone call, because here's what happens. When you make phone calls, they perpetuate, and they get easier with the more phone calls you make. So number 1, leave nothing to chance. It is simple, but it is profound, and it is where I've gone wrong in prospecting and inviting to events, is leaving things to chance. I make those phone calls and try to visit people when I can. So leave nothing to chance, leave no stone unturned, make the phone calls. All right, so you need to make the calls. Let's talk a little bit about anxiety and fear and how they work against us and what we can do about it. So your subconscious mind has one role. It has one job. It is immensely powerful. Most of us only use about 5 to 10% of our brains, which the logical piece of our brain that we use can really only hold about 7 to 12 pieces of information at one time. That's why and most of us remember phone numbers that were 7 digits before we had to have the area code. But even 10 digits with an area code, still it's easier for our brain to remember. Not as easy as 7, but 7 is optimal for our logical brain to remember. But the subconscious can remember millions of things at once. It's controlling your breathing, your heart. It remembers things that happened to you when you were 3 years old. It is so immensely powerful. That's why our dreams are so powerful. But its number 1 job is to protect you. That's why when you touch a hot pan, your subconscious says, we'll never do that again, and you never have to worry about it because your subconscious takes care of it and protects you and says, don't do that. However, your subconscious will also say things like, wait a second, anxiety's bad. When we call people and get rejection, we hate it. When people say our meetings are no fun or they don't like what we do or stop calling them, it hurts. We don't like hurt. We don't like rejection. So your subconscious says, you don't need to make calls. That's where bad things happen. okay? It's just trying to protect you. So it works against us even though it wants to protect and help us. So what do you do about it? Well, the great thing about your subconscious is it's very easy to rewire and wire. It likes to learn and do new things, and it's very easily tricked, I like to say. I love to trick my subconscious, and here's how I do it. Fear and anxiety is about you. It's all in your mind. Your event invite is about them. Events are about impacting people, about getting people together. Anytime two or more people get together, that's when we have an event. So fear is about you. You've got to make it about them, and here's how I've done it, whether it's sales or invites or prospecting. Replace your fear with curiosity. Replace your fear with curiosity. People have asked me throughout my career how to become a better listener because for some reason they perceive I'm a good listener. Here's one of the reasons that has made me a good listener is I genuinely am curious about what makes people tick. I want to know, and the only way to know is to ask questions and listen. That's the only way. And so I am curious as heck about people. And when you're genuinely curious, it creates excitement. And excitement and fear in the body come from the same place, and the same place in the mind. So replace your fear with curiosity. Instead of thinking, well, I'm afraid they're going to reject me, my curiosity is, I want to know what they're up to Saturday, because if they're not coming to my event, they must be doing something fun. So I genuinely am curious, and somebody needs to go on mute in the background. They're getting in and out of cars and talking to people. Thank you. So when I started making follow-up calls to people who hadn't ordered products in a long time, what I really want to know from them is why did they stop ordering? But if I ask them that right out of the gate, they get defensive. And the worst thing you can do with inviting is having somebody get defensive or have you get on the defensive. So instead, when I talk to people, and see how you can apply this to your invites, when I talk to people about why they stopped taking the products, I ask a really simple question. How are you doing on the products? Even though they're not taking them? Because that makes them think it's not offensive. They don't get defensive. So I ask a question I'm genuinely curious about. How are you doing on the products? Because maybe they're doing something different. And then they answer, and that leads me to another question and another question. And people always ask me, Alex, what questions do I ask people? That I can't train you on because you've got to be genuinely curious about people. So when you do event invites, I want to know what they're up to. I want to ask questions, and I'm genuinely curious about their life and getting to this event and what's going on and where they're at, because if it's not the right time, I probably don't want them at my event. But if they're open, if it's close to the right time, if they've been thinking about taking a look, if they're already part of the team, I want to replace my fear with curiosity. What are they up to? Now, I'm going to give you some bad questions that you should not ask. Never ask about the weather. Okay? Never open a call with, how do you like this weather we're having? Because weather is the one thing we talk about when we're afraid or have nothing else to talk about. The second thing when you call people to invite is we don't want to ask, how are you? Let me explain why. And you might be saying, Alex, but I want to know how they are. I am genuinely curious about that. That's okay. Rephrase it, because everybody gets asked, how are you doing, 100 times a day or 5 times a day. And we all have the same question. Well, I'm fine. It's okay. Things are going all right. Not too bad, I guess. The worst thing that could happen when you ask somebody, how are you doing, is when they say, oh, not too good. We want to run, right? Unless we really want to take some time or we know something's going on in their life. So we don't want to ask people, hey, how are you doing? Because that does not give us an answer that we can play off of. Okay, so avoid, it's just a really natural thing, and even when I train salespeople, inevitably they slip back to this sometime, and they'll call somebody and say, hey, how are you today? That doesn't help us invite people. We want to get to the point, and I'm going to get to that here in just a second. I'm going to get to the point in just a second. But when it comes to fear and anxiety, it's about you. You've got to be excited about your message, which is about them. Impact is about them. Your event is about them. So replace your fear with curiosity. It's the best thing I can tell you. And if they're not interested in your event, just leave them better than you found them. If you make every call and leave people better than you found them, you're going to be doing really, really well. So if they can't make it to your event, that's okay. Even if you're disappointed, leave them better than you found them. And I'm going to get to what you can do when they do say no, or when they can't make your event. So next, know your audience. You've got to know how your event benefits them, because something else the subconscious mind loves is benefits. Advertising companies, advertising agencies have spent millions of dollars researching this, and we can benefit from their research, which says that 70% or more of our invites, of our marketing messages should focus on benefits, because people make emotional decisions, and benefits speak to emotions. Benefits speak to the subconscious. So how does your event benefit them? What are the potential benefits? Now I'm going to throw you something that sometimes doesn't make me popular, but 90 for life is not a benefit. It's a great thing, but people don't know what that is. So how does it benefit them? And once they understand the benefits, then they get 90 for life. Okay, we're going to have a digit drop. Neat. Even if they know what it is. How does it benefit them? So the best way to know how to invite somebody so they understand how the event could benefit them is to know them already and know your audience. Which leads to the question, Alex, if I don't know my audience very well, I don't know the person very well, and I'm inviting them, how do I know? Well, that goes back to asking questions. What are they looking for? How do I know what questions to ask? You've got to be genuinely I'm struggling with that word tonight. Genuinely curious about people, about them, because people will sense that. And when you're curious about people, it's a funny thing. People feel it. When you're genuinely curious, people feel it and they like it. Okay, it's the reason why I'm married. I was genuinely curious about a woman and wanted to know what made her tick. Okay, I'm still curious about that woman every single day. People like it when you're curious about them. And when you're curious and they give you information, it allows you to give them genuine compliments, which is one of the greatest things God ever gave us, is the power of compliments. So know your audience and focus on benefits. One of the simple ways we go wrong with invites is to focus on details. We need details. This is when the event starts. This is who's going to be there. But how does the person benefit from this? And it could be that they benefit from meeting your upline. They benefit from meeting some of the guests there. They're going to benefit from the message, but how? You've got to relay this to them. How does your invite and this event benefit them? Oftentimes I ask people to make a list and draw a line down the center of a page with a product that they're trying to sell or a business opportunity or an event. I say write down the benefits of being at the event on one side and the details of the event on the other. And it's amazing how many people write details as a benefit. Like ingredients are not benefits, they're details. What vitamin C can do, vitamin C is a detail and a fact. What vitamin C can do for us is a benefit. The event is simply a detail. What the event can do for our lives, for our health, for our finances, for our community, for getting people together, benefits. So you've got to know your audience. You've got to ask questions and talk about benefits. Next, I mentioned this a little bit. Get to the point. Humans have evolved with a sixth sense. We don't like to be sold. We don't like our time wasted. Time is more valuable than money because it cannot be replaced. Time is not money. Money, you can always make more money. You can never replace time. So get to the point with your invites. People don't have a lot of time. Be genuine, but don't waste a lot of time on their phone. Use your excitement to just get to the point, talk about benefits, ask them the right questions, and invite them to the event. Get to the point and ask them to come to the event. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people get really excited about inviting, but never get to the point. And they do a 20-minute call with somebody, and oh, I forgot why I was calling you. Oh, yeah, we're having an event. And the person says, oh, yeah, I'm busy that Saturday. Kid's got soccer tournament. It costs us $300 to get in the tournament. I can't make it. Oh, well, 20 minutes, I mean, maybe it was a nice conversation, but get to the point right away. And if you want to have a social conversation afterwards, great. But people will appreciate it when you get to the point. And you just do it in a nice, genuine way. You don't have to be rude about it or short about it, but people will appreciate it when you get to the point. We've all got the phone call when somebody's being disingenuous and they say, how are you doing? How are the kids doing? Great. And we know they're just waiting for us to finish our sentence so they can jump in and try to sell us something or try to say, hey, come to my event, come to this. Nobody likes that. So don't be disingenuous. If you're calling to invite, get right to the point. Share your excitement and get right to the point. Next, when you invite, give choices. When I teach downlines, when I've trained my own network marketing teams, when I've trained salespeople, the choice is never yes or no when I train them. It's buy or buy. Oh, someone tells me they like BTT? Great. Did you want one canister or did you want to save money with a 4-pack? It's buy or buy. Now they can still say, well, I'm not really in a place to buy right now. I really can't afford it. I don't want to buy it today. They can still say that. That is still always a choice on somebody's mind. But when you give choices of buy or buy, and in this case in the event, make sure you have another event or two lined up. At least 2 events lined up in your mind, no more than 3. So that you have a choice when you talk to somebody and invite them to the next event. If they can't make it, in your mind, you don't get deflated or beat up. It's not the be-all, end-all when they say no, because we don't like to hear no. Back to our subconscious mind. It doesn't like rejection. It knows we don't like it, so it tries to protect us from that. So let's help our subconscious and let's help ourselves by giving a choice. We have a great virtual event happening on March 5th. Oh, you can't make that? Well, who do you know in Denver? We have a road show on March 10th, or Salt Lake March 11th, or Houston March 12th. Or you can't make Anaheim? Great. It looks like we're doing a big training in June. Make sure you have another event lined up so you give people choices, because it's like setting an appointment. I never ask somebody what would be a good time to call you back, because then their mind starts swirling. People are really busy. I make it really simple for people. Great, I'll give you a call back. Would tomorrow morning work or would Wednesday night work? Which will work better for you? Or, hey, great, I'll call you on Thursday. Does afternoon work better or evening work better? You give people a choice of yes or yes. They can still say no, but you'll be stunned when you give people these choices how many times they actually pick one or both. Sometimes I call and say, hey, we've got an event this day or this day. We've got a virtual event on the 5th, and we're doing a big event in April. Which one fits you better? Can I come to both? Yes. It's just amazing when you give people choices like that, how they react. So make sure you have these choices, and the benefit to you is you don't have to face that rejection. And even if they say no, you know you've got choices here, so it arms you. It's like being in a little battle, and you have a couple weapons to choose from. You'll have more confidence, and that'll come across in your invites. Okay. Ask them to invite others when they say yes. Here's another thing I've seen. People call and they get on a roll and they start inviting to events and they get somebody to say yes, and then they just keep talking and they keep saying why the event's so great. When people say yes, I don't know how to put this other way. Shut up. You got them, okay? You got them to this event. The only thing you should tell them is make sure they know where it's at and then say a very powerful question. Great, you're coming. Who else do you know that you'd like to invite to this event? That is a powerful question. You can ask the same question even if they can't make the event. Oh, I can't make it. We have soccer this day and I can't make that. Okay, great. Is there anybody else on your team that can make this event? Would you give them a call for us, or do you need me to give them a call? Do you have a list for me? Again, we're avoiding that rejection. We're staying in motion. We're staying positive. This is a really important thing when making invite calls. And when you have confidence, it's amazing how many names you will come up with to invite to events. When you have confidence in your prospecting, when you have options, I hope you can hear it in my voice. I get really passionate about invites and about how they work, because I've been in the spot where I thought I stunk at it. I was bad at it. I've got nobody to call. I've been there. I've been there. But you can hear the passion in my voice. This works. It's worked for me, and when you take it and make it your own, these little simple tips, they will work for you if you put them in play, and you will make them your own, and you will be on fire. And it's amazing how many names you come up with when you're not afraid to talk to people, because all you do is you care about them, and you want to know what makes them tick. So when people say yes, ask that magical question. I get excited. Awesome. Who else do you know we can invite? Who else on your team needs to be there? If they've committed, you don't need to convince them anymore. You don't need to sell them or pitch them. Stop right there. Get excited about it. Make sure they have the details at that point. And then who do they know that can come? That is a powerful question, because, look, if you do that with every yes, if you get 10 people to say yes to an invite to come to an event, and you fail to ask this question, you got 10 people. That's awesome. But if each one of those people know an average of 2 people, you just tripled your event to 30. It's like compound interest. So make sure you ask people that magical question. Awesome. I'm so glad you're coming. Who else do you know that we can do? The more the merrier. Who else do you know? Do you need me to call them with you, or do you want to call them? Oh, I need help. Great. Let's call them right now. Who else do you know? Let's call them tomorrow. Would it be better to make calls tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening? There's those choices again. So make sure you're asking the question. Okay. Your attitude and excitement make all the difference. So it's kind of wrapping all of this up. Sometimes people don't know what to say, and I always think if you don't know what to say on your invites and you have all the details, you may not be excited enough about it. So we've got to relay benefits, we've got to ask questions, but your excitement and attitude are going to make all the difference. When I call you super excited about something, it's really contagious, and it's hard to say no. But when I call you full of fear and trepidation and anxiety, it's much easier to say no, because your brain is saying, wait a second, your subconscious and my subconscious have connected here, and I know you don't believe in what you're saying, or you're afraid, or there's something not right here. And it makes them very leery. And remember, their brain is just trying to protect them too. So it's like, why do I want to come to an event that you don't believe in? No. I'll have to see. Maybe, one of my favorite songs ever, it seems to me that maybe pretty much always means no, is the lyric in the song. And it's so true. Let's avoid that. Your attitude and excitement make all the difference. Simple things. Make sure you have a mirror in front of the phone, and make sure you're smiling, because what you see is what they hear. It is guaranteed to be true, and you can fake your own body and mind simply by smiling. Try it right now. If you smile right now, it's a physiology thing. It's a physical thing. Your body likes to smile. Your mind likes it when you smile, and you can literally change the chemicals in your body by smiling. I mean, literally, it's a very subtle shift, but make sure you're smiling. So your attitude and excitement make all the difference, so keep that in check. Make sure you're in a good spot. One way I do that when I do my invites, when I do my phone calls, is I use a technique called the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro technique, if you haven't heard of it, is very simple. It says you set a timer for 25 minutes and you work your butt off for 25 minutes. The timer goes off and you get a 5-minute break to do whatever you want. Go take a walk, do some sit-ups, get a drink of water, drink a coffee, take a walk outside, whatever. When those 5 minutes are up, boom, you're back at it for 25 minutes. Set that timer. When that's over, you've just completed an hour of calls, and what that'll do is it'll perpetuate and it'll start to snowball in a good way, and you'll want to do it again. The Pomodoro technique really works when you want to get stuff done, when you want to focus, and when you might avoid it, because distractions have one goal. They distract us. They're really good at it, and this is one way to avoid distractions and excuses. Okay, so the Pomodoro technique, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Anybody can do it. If you've got an hour to make calls, this is what I use. I used it when I wrote a book because I'd put it off. I use it anytime I needed to work on my podcast, write a book, work on a project. 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, the Pomodoro technique. You can Google it, Pomodoro, Pomodoro technique. Google it, it works. Okay, edification. It is very important when you make invite calls that you edify the people you're calling in a genuine way, but that you also use edification to your advantage. Who's going to be at this event? Do they know the people? Hey, Helen's going to be there. She wanted me to reach out to you. Hey, Alex is coming to this event. He wanted me to reach out to you. He can't wait to meet you. Hey, do you remember the training call we did with Alex where he blew your minds with invite training? He's coming to our event. He is coming to our event. So this is your chance to edify people, guests, leaders, but also make people feel involved and a part of the community. Edification for them, making sure your upline and the people at the event know who's coming, making sure you're using three-way calls if you need to. The worst thing you can do is feel like you're all alone, because in this business we're never alone. We always have people that want to help us. We always have upline that wants to help us, or home office team that wants to help us, or crossline people that want to help us. You are not alone. The worst thing we can do is say, oh man, I just called 4 people. I got no's. I am all alone. I stink at this. And all of a sudden, we're in our own heads, and we're playing tricks on our own mind. And playing the what-if game and tricks on our own mind is one of the worst things we can do to ourselves. But using edification and knowing you're part of a team, edifying the people that are going to be there. Hey, we've got so-and-so coming to this event. Their check is skyrocketing, or they're coming to help us. They're doing some great things right now. Use edification to your advantage and to paint the picture and to paint your invitee into that picture, because everyone wants to belong to something. Everyone wants to know how they belong. Everyone wants to be a part of something. And edification also helps with empathy, which again is the #1 force in marketing. When people know what you're going through, or they're going to meet somebody who's been through what they've been through, or can help them get out of a situation or improve their situation or grow their check, whatever it is, or help them make a phenomenal digital scrapbook, whatever it is, a phenomenal photo album, use edification to your advantage. And lastly, we are going to get people that say no, and we are going to get people that cancel. And here's what usually happens with cancellations to an event. You got somebody that said yes, which is amazing, and we feel great about it, and we count on them being there. And I've been to an event, and I'll never forget this. I invited 3 people. I only invited 3 people, and they all said yes. And I'm like, I'm the best at this. I didn't even invite. I didn't waste any time inviting anybody else. I go to the event, and none of them showed up. And I was devastated, and I never wanted to do the business again. Now, I came out of it, but I was so defensive when I called these people. When I finally got the nerve, I had to make them, they had to feel like garbage after I dealt with them, because I was just like, you said you were going to be there. They got on the defensive, and nobody wants to deal with drama. Nobody wants to deal with that, right? So we want to avoid that as much as possible. So #1, if you invite somebody that says yes, leave nothing to chance. Make sure you follow up with them. If they don't make your event, your response is everything. How you respond to them is everything. Everything. Jack Canfield wrote a book called The Success Principles, and in that book he uses this equation, E plus R equals O. E means event, plus R is your response, and that equals the outcome. And here's the deal. We can't control E. Things happen. That's the event. Stuff happens. What we can control is R, our response. And that creates the outcome. What often happens is we turn the R into a reaction, and there's a big difference between reacting and responding. In this case, when somebody doesn't show up, your response is everything. And when somebody doesn't show up for an event, now what I do is I call them, and I don't even give it two thoughts. I say, hey, man, we really missed you. Let me tell you what happened. I did it after the cruise this year. There's someone who qualified who didn't come to the cruise, and they canceled. And I was really hoping to see them there and spend time with them, and they didn't make it. It was really disappointing. There's no getting around that. But when I called them, I said, hey, fill in the blank name. Wow, did we miss you on the cruise? Is everything okay? Yeah, I just didn't feel like going this year. Hey, good. Can I update you on what happened? They were shocked. Yeah. They expected me to chastise them or make them feel bad about coming. I don't have time for that, and they don't want to deal with that. So I just jump right into it. The other way to handle cancels is if somebody calls you before the event, and inevitably this happens on the way to the event. Someone calls you, you're excited to see them. I finally got them to come to the event, and they call you and say, hey, something happened with our kids tonight. I can't make the event. And our heart goes, oh. And it's really hard to respond to that. Okay, but how I take that is at least they let us know, and that provides an opportunity for feedback. And again, you need to respond to that. And your response, even though it's very difficult, say, hey, no problem. I'll follow up with you afterwards. Can I call you tomorrow morning, or would tomorrow evening be better? We go right back into follow-up mode. It's okay to be disappointed after that call, but you can't let that show on that call. You've got to respond. And lastly, I learned this in high school when I was bussing tables at an Italian restaurant. They took reservations at this restaurant. And when somebody didn't show up for a reservation, the table sat there for 3 hours and they lost money and they couldn't fill the table even though we had a line waiting. They changed one thing about reservations. When somebody called to say, I'd like a table, they set the table, great, 7 o'clock, got you down, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, will you do us a favor? If you can't make it tonight, will you give us a call to let us know? That's a choice. And the person said yes 99 times out of 100. And the crazy thing about our brains is when we make a commitment, we want to keep it. So we went from 20% of our cancellations called us to let us know, and so 80% didn't. So 80% of the time we had a table sitting there with cancellations when they didn't show and we couldn't fill it, to that flipped, and 80% of the time when people canceled, they gave us a call to say, hey, I can't make it. The restaurant was able to fill the table. I thought that was brilliant. I learned it over 20 years ago, and I've still used it to this day. So when somebody says yes to your event, the other thing to tell them is, hey, great. If for some reason you can't make it, will you let me know? Will you give me a call? Because I don't want an email. I don't want a text. I don't say that. But will you give me a call? If you feel iffy, if you know this is a lock and they're going to make it, you don't even need to say it. But that magical question, hey, if you can't make it, will you give me a call? When they say yes, 9 times out of 10, they're going to commit to that. They're going to keep that commitment, and it gives you a chance to follow up. All right, I've thrown a bunch at you. Let me just reiterate a couple key points, 5 key points. I hope some of this you were able to take notes and do some takeaways from this. Here are 5 takeaways from this. Number 1, make the calls. You've got to make the calls. Leave nothing to chance and make the calls. Number 2, don't forget to ask when you make the calls. Get right to the point if you can. Okay, use your attitude and your excitement, but get to the point and ask them to come to your event. Okay, don't show up and throw up. Don't talk too much. Don't go over all the details. Don't talk in circles or talk their ear off. Just get to the point and ask them to come to your event. Number 3, benefits, benefits, benefits. Know how this event can benefit. And if you don't know, ask questions. If you don't know what questions to ask, you need to be genuinely curious about people and getting them to your events. Number 4, use the power of edification and community. Edification and community. People want to belong. People follow people. People buy people. That's how our business works. And finally, number 5, when you invite to anything, give choices. Not yes or no. It's buy or buy. Attend this event or attend this event. I can call you here or I can call you here. Which works best for you? Make sure you give choices when you are inviting. Okay, Mrs. Watt, that is the training for tonight. Invites. I'm telling you, this works. If it works for me, this is literally one of those things. If it works for me, it can work for anybody.
Well, and you're living proof because you're married, right? So you had to have closed on some of these takeaways.
I only closed on one of those for the marriage. My wife won't let me date, so yeah, I wasn't able to do any other closing.
Well, we so appreciate the timing of this because with the social selling platform that has just opened up, this gives us all great opportunity to put your training into action. And so we just want to thank you for your time on this. And I want to give a shout out to my leaders too as well, and even others on the team. As I saw you guys excited about this event on short notice because I just talked with Alex yesterday, right? So in 24 hours, this information went out. And what I saw was emails, texts, phone calls, Facebook posts, all of it. You guys were making connections with people and following up. You did get to the point and you spelled it right out. You let them know why they needed to come and listen to Alex talk through these steps to give us this skill set on the invitation. And I know that those of you that are already registered for Anaheim or those of you that are on the fence but have now made that commitment are going to be excited to see Alex in person in April next month. and just be a part of that community and give him some in-person feedback on how this training not impacted your business, but also impacted the people who you did events with. So I just want to thank you, Alex, for your time, and from my team, and they're making comments here. You can probably see those, that they think that was just fabulous. I do want to open up the line.